Questions for reflection. In our first reading, we see the Israelites have become impatient with Moses. They became so ungrateful they were nostalgic for the time when they were slaves in Egypt. God's provision of manna and quail from heaven, a miracle of loving provision, has now become for them a cause for grumbling and complaining. That is what happens when we harden our hearts against God. We must be on our guard against developing the same attitude as Christians. Sometimes we worry about what we are missing as Christians and look upon the slavery of sin as though it were some kind of freedom. It was not. We were captive to what St. Paul called the slavery of sin. But we also live in a culture that tells us that to be Christian means we must spend our lives wandering in a desert without satisfaction. This is a lie as well. The Lord has given us everything. Jesus has come, in His own words, to bring life and life more abundantly. Let us ask ourselves if we grumble, if we too are impatient with God. If so, let us find a way to remind ourselves that as God provides manna for us now, He will provide much more later. If only we continue to live in faith and fix our hearts and our eyes on the Lord and not on ourselves. In our responsorial psalm, the psalmist David recounts that the people of Israel, despite living in the promised land, stubbornly turned away from God. In so doing, they cut themselves off from God's blessings. God is prepared to turn His hand against their enemies and to sustain His people with every good thing. Yet they are too concerned about themselves. Likewise, the same can happen to us. We can become so concerned about ourselves that we fail to care for one another. More importantly, we can fail in our duty to God. When that happens, we cannot reap the good things that should be ours. Ask yourself, am I too concerned with myself that I am neglecting my loved ones and my devotion to God? If so, what is one way I can do better? Our gospel reading is taken from St. Matthew's account of the miraculous feeding of the 5,000. In this parable, the apostles offer what little they have, 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. When the apostles handed Him their food, they probably expected to feed only a few. But that humble offering placed in the hands of Jesus Christ was plenty. Imagine their surprise when everyone ate their fill and had enough left over for 12 baskets. This was not an arbitrary number, but a powerful symbol of abundance. 12 in the Scripture is a number of fulfillment. There were 12 tribes of Israel, 12 apostles. This demonstrates what God can do when we put our talents and goods in His hands. During the account of the miracle in Mark's Gospel, we're told the disciples had encouraged Jesus to dismiss the crowd because, from their limited perspective, they did not see how they could feed these hungry people, even with 200 days' wages. They did not see the situation with the eyes of living faith. They did not receive the people as a gift. In His sacred humanity, Jesus was moved with compassion for the crowd. The Greek root of the word for compassion means to suffer with. The disciples viewed the matter and the people in need as a problem. They approached it all through a lens of economic scarcity. Jesus understood the economy of heaven. The question He asks of all of us today is, do we? Jesus asked the disciples a simple question, what do you have? The disciples didn't understand. They'd been invited to participate in God's work by simply giving what they had in a holy exchange. And when they finally did, Jesus used the matter given by men, 5 loaves and 2 fish, to manifest the manna of heaven. He still does. God is ready to surprise us too. All we must do is offer our loaves and fishes to His service and watch those gifts multiply. So ask yourself, is there something I can do to serve my parish community, my family, or friends? Try it out in a spirit of true charity and watch what the Lord does with your humble offering.